got to be our biggest critic, and that's what we're going to be, and we're going to see where we can improve on. But at the end of the day, the opinions, that's for you guys. The only thing that really matters is how we win. Whether we throw for 400 yards, we rush for 400 yards, we win the game 3-0. I don't give a to be honest. Like, I just want to win.
That was Saquon Barkley yesterday. He says, I don't give a flip how we win. Throw for 400, score 3 points. Well, they scored 22. They could have scored more. Sal Palantonio was there, ESPN national correspondent, and, man, he was all over the TV, all over the scene at Lincoln Financial Field yesterday as the Eagles win the game 22-10. But, Sal, you heard Saquon. He doesn't give a flip how they get it done. But not the most aesthetically pleasing game yesterday, but a win is a win, and good teams win ugly. And you look back at that game on Sunday, what is your biggest takeaway from the way the Eagles were able to win that game?
They were resilient, and they kept the main thing, as Jalen Hurts always says. They got the win, and that's very important. And they understand that they have things to clean up if they're going to win going forward. It's one thing to win a wild card game on the road when your opponent has 4 turnovers, 8 penalties, and a missed field goal, and also has an offensive lineman knocked out of the game and 2 wide receivers. So they understand. Every team understands after every game. That's why you have film study. But in this particular case, there are, I think, 3 things that they need to address going forward.
All right, Sal. Well, you said it. They were resilient. That's one. 3 things they need to address. I want to get those because obviously on the offensive side of the ball, they really didn't have an identity. What was their game plan? Who were they trying to be? What were they trying to be offensively? Because that's something that's going to have to be fixed moving forward here.
No, I think their identity, Mike, is they want to run the football, and that's pretty much been the case for the latter half of the season. And yesterday they came out running the football. But I think they need to augment that. And you got to get A.J. Brown involved in a volume way, lots of targets, and see what sticks. He's good at bringing down the ball in traffic. We know that. We've seen it. We've seen it in the Eagles uniform. He's terrific at that. He's tough. He's got great hands. Throw him the football. It doesn't really take a rocket scientist to figure it out. And then Kellen Moore's got to figure that out. Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier, the quarterback's coach, Nick Sirianni, who was a former wide receivers coach, and Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and that coaching staff have to get into a room and say, yeah, it's all well and good if the other team turns the ball over 4 times, but they understand that the offense cannot sleepwalk to victory on the backs of the other team's mistakes and the defense. We've talked about this, Michael, and it's true. There's a running back renaissance in the NFL this year, led by Saquon Barkley. I talked about it on SportsCenter on Sunday morning. Teams are averaging 7 yards rushing per game more than they were in 2023. That's the largest single-year jump in NFL history. So it's been led by Saquon Barkley. Derrick Henry is there. You saw Joe Mixon go off for the Texans against the Chargers. The Detroit Lions have certainly made a running game an important part of what they do. But you run to win the game. You throw to score points. And if you're going to go up against Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes II, or Josh Allen, or Jared Goff, or Matthew Stafford, for that matter, you will have to throw the ball more efficiently and more productively.
Yeah, especially in a game, Sal, where they got 4 turnovers and still only end up with 22 points. I mean, if you look up and say, man, we got 4 turnovers and only end up with 22 points, I'm wondering what kind of film study and what kind of reaction the coaching staff. Nick Sirianni said it today. We got to put them in better position, and they got to go execute. You want Andy Reid on us. They got to do a better job. You mentioned it. A.J. Brown, 1 catch, 10 yards. Barkley, he had the big run late. If he scores that touchdown, 75 yards, it looks like he has a big day. He wasn't a huge factor in the game. The offense just really had nothing kind of going for it yesterday. But it was the play of that defense, the 4 turnovers. But it was more than just a turnover, Sal, wasn't it? They got pressure. It looked like Jordan Love, he didn't trust his offensive line, it felt like, most of that day.
Nolan Smith had a career day. 23 years old. I was watching him being interviewed with Mike Quick and John Clark after the game. And I can tell you, I remember when he was drafted, he is definitely not as big. He's bigger now than he was then.
Yeah.
With that strength and conditioning staff of the Philadelphia Eagles has turned him into a beast. He is quick. He's just too fast for the Green Bay Packers offensive line. He was putting on pressure all the time. And, Mike, they weren't blitzing. And it's pretty interesting. Everybody is going back to that Jalen Hurts touchdown pass early in the game to Johan Dotson off of the Oren Burks forced fumble recovered by Jeremiah Trotter Jr. on the opening kickoff, and they cashed in. It was their only red zone cash-in, by the way, in the game. They were 1 for 4 in the red zone. And Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator of the Packers, only rushed 4. And the Eagles kept 6 in the block. That's the reason why Jalen Hurts had time. After that, they learned their lesson. The Packers just opened up the pressure faucet and came after Jalen Hurts, flushing him out of the pocket time and time again. Jalen Hurts is the third most blitzed quarterback in the NFL this year because they've rarely had answers to the blitz. So they got that's number 2. Number 1 is, I don't care how you do it. Let me rephrase that. I hate the dreaded wide receiver screens. I wish they would just take those pages of the playbook, rip them up, burn them, whatever you got to do, get rid of them. Nobody runs them really well. They telegraph them all over the NFL, and guys just bum rush them. And particularly for the Eagles, they had a Barkley screen where Dotson and Devontae Smith were blocking 2 of the more slight wide receivers in the NFL. I don't know what they were doing with some of that stuff. And how about the Jets sweep to a rookie wide receiver on the inside the 20 the Tampa Bay Bucks called to lose that game on a fumble? These offensive coordinators just keep the main thing the main thing. You got a beast in number 11. I don't care if he's triple teamed. Throw it to him. And then if he is triple teamed, and you might have somebody else open. So to me, just keep feeding him the football, 1. And 2, find some blitz beaters for Jalen Hurts and get him outside the pocket. He looks so good on the run, running and passing the football. And number 3, Mike, without a doubt, they got to blitz more. They got to bring more corner and safety pressure. I didn't see any of that on Jordan Love. Maybe it's because they got home a little bit, but they're going to have to blitz the upcoming quarterbacks. Jordan Love just gave them some gifts. The next quarterbacks will not do that.
Yeah, they blitzed on 1 of 36 dropbacks yesterday, 2.8%, the lowest rate in any regular season or postseason game for Philadelphia. They only sent 1 blitz the whole day. They did get 3 picks in the game. They had 5 passes batted down, and obviously the defense carried them. You mentioned Nolan Smith. How big of a loss is Nakobe Dean for this team?
He's significant. I've had an opportunity to meet with him and talk with him, and obviously we have studied him on the matchup show and breaking down the Eagles linebacker play. So he's significant because he's got a great motor, and he's in the right place at the right time, so the communication is fantastic at the linebacker and the back end positions of the Eagles defense. But I think most of all, he was very close with Zach Bond. It was interesting. When I did a piece on the Eagles defense in Week 16, the Eagles really wanted me to interview them together. And because of logistics and the way we had the cameras set up, we really pushed for them to be interviewed separately. But they easily could have finished each other's sentences in separate interviews. You can just tell they were super close, how they interacted with one another as they came in and out of the room. And I regret now not interviewing them together. I think it would have really worked out perfectly. But it was a great piece, nevertheless. Don't get me wrong. Our editors and producers did a terrific job. But I think seeing them together like they are on the field would have been special. And they are special together. Now, Oren Burks can play. What do we like about Oren Burks? Well, he's 3 inches taller than Kobe Dean and about 10 pounds heavier. He's bigger. And he laid the wood on that returner on the opening kickoff and had that forced fumble. I do believe now he has 2 forced fumbles. So he's capable, but it's going to be a loss for Zach Bond to get over psychologically, having his running mate now on crutches and going through knee surgery.
Yeah, obviously a huge loss for the Eagles, as you just chronicled. The Bond and Dean have just been, just a joy to watch the linebacker play after what you saw last year from this. But the defense really stole the show yesterday. They were able to, and they get the 3 turnovers, but, they were able to, when you could not capitalize on turnovers, man, that game had such an ominous feel, Sal, where they couldn't score on the turnovers. Then they score, and Elliott misses the extra point, and you're like, oh, my gosh. Like, you were just kind of in the stadium, did it feel that way? Because watching on TV, it felt like one of these drives, Green Bay is going to get something done, and yet the defense just kept pushing them and holding them out.
And how about the fact that 90 minutes of television time transpired between Jalen Hurts' completions?
Yes.
I mean, you could have taken your girlfriend out to dinner and come back and still not had a completion.
Yeah, it was about a minute and a half in the first quarter all the way to the third quarter. I mean, that's unbelievable. And it just goes to show, I talk about this all the time. You bring it up all the time, too. The short, quick stuff. And they had to drive with the short, quick pass. They threw a 9-yard pass to Smith and a 28-yard pass to Smith. Then the Goddard pass was just a quick little throw that let these guys make the plays after the catch. I don't understand why they do not commit to that.
So let's flip it forward. Now, if you face the Rams, you're going to face a team, and you saw the piece that we had in the matchup show this week, done by Greg Cosell. You're going to face a team that brings pressure with 4 and or 5. They don't really blitz very much because they get home. They have young, fierce pass rushers led by Rookie of the Year Jared Verse. As for Minnesota, Aaron Glenn coached under Rex Ryan in New York. Rex Ryan's father was Buddy Ryan. Buddy Ryan was the author, the godfather of the 46 defense, which is bring the pressure all the time from the secondary if possible. And that's what he did to Sam Darnold when the Detroit Lions eviscerated the Vikings on Sunday night a couple of weeks ago, or last week, excuse me. So Aaron Glenn will bring the blitz. And as I mentioned, Jalen Hurts is the 3rd most blitz quarterback in the NFL. They feel like they can still get after him. The Todd Bowles template is still there. So they have to figure some things out offensively. They got to I'm telling you, the key is to get Jalen Hurts out of that pocket. Get him out of that pocket. And get outside the tackles when you're running the football. I mean, Saquon is lethal. Pitch it to him on the outside. You watched that game last night, Commanders and the Bucks. Bucks are just pitching the ball on the outside. Quick pitches to Bucky Irving from Baker Mayfield, gaining 6, 7, 8, 9 yards on the edge. Now, Irving is a younger back, quicker, faster than Saquon, but Saquon's elusive and tough, gets extra yards. Get him outside the tackle box. Absolutely do that. And get Jalen Hurts outside the tackle box. And quick hitters, when he's outside the tackle box and a threat to run, then you'll open up the middle of the field for A.J. Brown. What happened to those slant routes that we saw against Baltimore that Brown ran so effectively and Jalen Hurts connected on? They weren't even around yesterday, and they were available because Jerry Alexander wasn't on the field.
No doubt about it, Sal. It's funny, the game that A.J. says, what's the problem passing? The next week they throw it all over the yard. Jalen says, is that what you guys wanted to see? Yes. Where was it? I wanted to see it again. Bring it back. Rewind.
It's not what we wanted to see. It's what was productive. But the bottom line is they're moving on. Why? Well, number one, and most important thing, once more with feeling, I will say this on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. If your quarterback is not turning the football over, you will win in the postseason. And that's exactly what Jalen Hurts did. He did not turn the football over. 2, run the football. Don't turn the ball over at the quarterback position. Get those rushing attempt numbers up. Stay with it. They did that. And 3, get after the opposing quarterback however you can. And they did that too. So all the way around, I give it a solid A performance that would have been an A+ if the offense was more proficient and productive.
It's an interesting ending, 22-10. The score, you're kind of like, but if Barkley breaks that, he slides, it's 29-10. That game could have easily been 40-10 if they converted some things here. Now, they'll play the Vikings or the Rams. Sal Powell, what's the scuttlebutt around the league? Who's better, L.A. or Minnesota as a matchup next week in Philly?
I think it's a toss-up. I really do. I don't think either team can come into South Philadelphia, however, on a Sunday afternoon and play this football team. I really don't. I mean, Saquon Barkley said it at his locker last night. I was standing there when he said it. And I've interviewed him now a couple times and talked to him a lot. He said, I totally underestimated the playoff atmosphere here.
He was having a good time, man. You could tell. He was loving it.
Well, he got the largest standing ovation when he was introduced. Not Jalen, not A.J. Brown, not Lane Johnson, not Jordan Mailata. It was Saquon. It was loud and long and sustained.
Well, Sal, unfortunately, I will not be around for a Sal Pal Friday or the game. And when I saw the time of the game, I was none too thrilled to see I'm going to have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch that game. But I am appreciative that a Sal Pal Monday, thanks to Johnny G and the Burger Realty team. It was great to see Johnny G at breakfast the other day. That was a treat before I got to leave, but I don't know how I'm going to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I hope I have to do it twice while I'm over there because the NFC Championship game is also scheduled for 3 o'clock Eastern time. But, well, I feel like I agree with you. I don't see either one of these teams coming in here and finding a way to win.
No, I don't. I don't think Sam Darnold can come in here and do it. And, I actually fear Stafford a little more for obvious reasons. He's won a Super Bowl. He's won big games in tough environments. Mm-hmm. And number 17, Puka Nacua, I mean, you watch him, and you're just astonished at how good he is. Yeah.
They did a good job against him the first time, but he was just coming back from injury. He's now kind of, they found a groove. The one thing about the Rams, man, their defense is just small up front. And the Eagles, I think Barkley had like 250 in that game, didn't he?
255.
255. Yeah, that small defense coming across the country. And unfortunately, they got a lot going on in their lives. You hate to see that creep in here, but who knows how that's affecting the Rams and Minnesota. Their defense is tricky. I mean, they might throw some. It'll be interesting to see what Flores would throw at them in that kind of matchup. But, hey, tonight's game should be very interesting. To see if Darnold bounces back after the primetime failure he had a week ago.
You think Deion Sanders is going to be the Cowboys head coach?
I was just going to say, this coaching stuff's getting interesting. You've got now McCarthy's available. Is Deion, they blocked him from interviewing with the Bears. Did they? That whole thing's bizarre. Does Deion, to you, scream that he wants to coach in the NFL?
I don't know. You know what talks, Mike, and you know what walks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Vrabel is with the Patriots. That was kind of predictable. So we'll see what the Cowboys do, because if you're thinking Deion and that's the predictable way, then that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, who cares about what's going on with the Patriots? They're going to be bottom feeders for probably another 5-6 years. But, the Cowboys are always interesting because they're in the Eagles division, and they have a lot of Pro Bowl players and a pretty good quarterback. So, it'll be interesting. He could go Mike Zimmer. He could snatch Kellen Moore from the Philadelphia
Eagles. Is Kellen Moore a possibility?
I would put Kellen Moore in that conversation. Absolutely. Mike Zimmer is there and available. Is he a stopgap? Do they use Mike Zimmer's availability as a way to reduce the size and length of the contract that they give to a new guy and just say, hey, well, we can go with Mike Zimmer for X. We don't really need you for X, Y, and Z. So they could do that and just stay with Zimmer. They could bring in Kellen Moore, or they could just try to swing for the fences and add a bunch of zeros and bring Deion Sanders in just light the NFL up.
The coaching carousel in the NFL, always something. Do you think Doug ever gets another head coaching opportunity? Is that it for him?
I hope so. I definitely do. But whatever you do, don't be calling them bubble screens or those wide receiver reverses inside the 20-yard line like Liam Cohen did last night for the Bucks and resulted in a fumble.
What'd you think of the
what do you call that? The jet sweep inside the 20 when Bucky Irving is gashing him. What are you doing, Mike? Michael, what are we doing? Come on.
I don't know, but what did you think of the Green Bay version of the tush push with the tight end?
I liked it.
Yeah. What did you think of the Eagles going tush push and then throwing one down the field? They almost connected on that one. Finally, we tried to see some.
All for throwing it to A.J. Brown, but yeah, Kraft, the tight end.
Yeah.
The guy's 6'5", 255. I mean, he's strong, fast, big, tough. Yeah. That was a good tush push. I liked it.
Twice they ran that thing. All right, Sal Palantonio. Always great to catch up. Thanks for doing the Monday, man. I appreciate it. And obviously, I will catch up with you, hopefully in New Orleans. And we are talking about Eagles. Maybe, I don't know, you feeling Baltimore?
Send me an email from Thailand, and you put it on social media. We'll go back and forth a little bit if I'm not too jealous.
All right, Sal. Well, we'll catch up with you soon.
Okay, brother.
All right, Sal Palantonio here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN.